Hi, Schlockmeisters fans. We're going to re-review something from my old channel. Brooke Shields and Ken Marshall and Charles Durning in Tilt, pinball movie. Let's check it out. Meet Neil Gallagher, played by Ken Marshall. He's kind of a down on his luck wannabe country singer. He's also a would-be pinball hustler. This is Charles Durning. He plays the whale.
You want to play me? Again? Boy, I spotted you 5,000 points of ball.
And the whale is a pinball wizard. Anyway, they set up a bet.
Okay.
I believe the whale owns this little bar,
400 to win 2,000. Okay?
tavern, whatever it is.
You sure you want to go ahead?
Somewhere in Texas. But the whale suspected some tomfoolery.
Play my first ball for me, Mr. Gallagher, will you please? What do you mean?
I think our buddy Neil's been cheating.
A magnet. Radio-activated goddamn magnet. Oh! It was him! He got me to do it!
We're also introduced to Brooke Shields. She plays Brenda, otherwise known as Tilt. She's kind of a runaway, and she's hitching a ride. Jeffrey Lewis picks her up.
Sure I do. I take it all the time.
Better not be lying.
Now, wait a minute. Not lying. Here. Take a look at that. You know what that is? Benny.
Tilt is also a pinball wizard. And Neil sees and he's starting to think maybe he can use her to hustle. Especially when his singing career doesn't pan out.
Keep going, keep going.
Long road to Texas gonna take me home.
Keep going, my ass. Keep going right off my stage.
Hey, Beaver, I'm doing you the biggest favor of your life. But boy, here's a great artist. I mean, how do you think a star is born?
Now Tilt does have a home, but she doesn't get along with her parents. She just decides she's got to up and leave.
You just laid hands on an executive of the music industry.
Neil gets into a fight with his buddy.
It's out what you've done. You are through in L.A. You understand, boy? Persona non grata. Blaze owns the music business.
Gambling?
He works out a deal with Tilt.
Look at it, all the truck stops and pinball arcades in the country. Mickey says there's a lot of people back in pinball.
There's only one thing, Tilt. See, I gotta go to Nashville to cut my demo.
They stop in a pinball arcade where the first victim they get is Lorenzo Lamas, who's backed by this guy, Fred Ward.
Hey, Mr. Lenny?
And the hustle is on.
My credit good for another 500? Sure, Pally.
Soon they make enough money to buy a used car. On his way to Nashville, he wants to stop into Texas, obviously, to get another crack at the whale. Meanwhile, the whale keeps doing his thing, and he really gets into it.
Yes, sir.
Neil shows up at the whale's place again.
You got a lot of nerve, boy, coming in here. Plus maybe salami on the side. Replay.
Yes, sir.
I should know better than come back to this flat store. Give me my money back, Replay.
He wants to challenge the whale.
Leave it alive. You got a bet. I'm gonna rub your nose into a bullshit.
Back in the hotel with Tilt.
Hey. What's the matter, baby?
But they make up.
I need some mud around here, Teal. You gotta clean it up for me. You gotta beat him. You beat him for me, baby, and I'll do anything you ask me to. Anything.
That's still on for tomorrow.
She goes to meet the whale herself.
Why, when?
Tries to get him to back out of the bet.
I'm offering you an insurance policy, right?
And they're going to play each other right now. And Tilt lives up to her name. Something she never does. And the whale beats her.
You had me worried there for a minute.
He gives her money anyway.
Boss, the word's out.
So what? So the kid left the games off, okay?
But he needs a manager.
It's our contract partner. You're a manager. You handle money. Okay?
I think we're led to believe that Neil does make it in the country music business. All right, let's talk about Tilt. This movie came out in 1979, I believe. It stars Brooke Shields, Charles Durney, and Ken Marshall. Ken Marshall, a few years later, did Krull. That's really the only other thing I know him from, although I think he's done a lot of other things. And Brooke Shields obviously was like America's darling little sweetheart around this time frame. She'd done Pretty Baby a few years earlier. Blue Lagoon came shortly after this. Alice, Sweet Alice, around that time. So anyway, she's like a 14-year-old runaway in this movie. And she ends up hooking up with Ken Marshall. Not hooking up in like a sexual way, just hooking up as they get together. Ken Marshall is a wannabe country singer, and he just recently got caught trying to cheat at a pinball hustle with Charles Durney, who plays this guy named The Whale. Charles Durney runs this bar. He's a pinball wizard type guy, and he tried to take him for that, and it didn't work. So he got kicked out of there, and he ends up on the road, and he's trying to get to Hollywood or Nashville. I think he's in Hollywood. Anyway, he ends up meeting Tilt, played by Brooke Shields, and Tilt is a very good pinball player herself. So he decides that what he's going to do is, then maybe I can use her to hustle. We can become a team, and eventually I can get back at the whale. So that's what they do. They go on the road. She's a runaway. He doesn't seem to care that she's like 14, and I don't know, it was a different time, I guess. But anyway, they hit the road. They hustle Lorenzo Lamas and Fred Ward, of all people. And then eventually they get their way back to Texas, and they meet the whale again. Now, he goes in by himself and challenges the whale to a hustle, and the whale's like, hey, man, you got a lot of nerve coming back here after what you pulled. Kind of like a Lando Calrissian Han Solo type deal, right? So, but anyway, he agrees, the whale agrees to do it. And then Tilt gets mad at him because she's starting to realize that he's just using her for her pool pinball wizardry. But eventually he comes clean with her and says, you just got to beat this guy, So she agrees, okay, we'll do this. She goes to meet the whale by herself and basically kind of challenges him and says, hey, look, let's not do this bet. Let's you and me bet right now. We can just have a quick thing right now. And he agrees, and they have a competition, and it's a very close competition, but she ultimately tilts, which is something that she never does. And the whale says, you gave me, I was a little worried there for a second. So anyway, all is forgiven. He gives her some money anyway. They hit the road again to Neil and Tilt. And he says, I need a manager. You take care of the money, blah, blah, blah. And they make their way to Nashville. And presumably he cuts his record and he becomes a big hit. And that's how our movie ends. There you go. Anyway, the movie is a little long, if you ask me. It's an hour and 52 minutes, which is pretty long for a movie like this. I think there was a slightly shorter version of this made available as well. The director's name is Rudy Durand, and this is the only thing he ever directed. Now, I believe there's a YouTube video of Rudy Durand being interviewed talking about this movie. And he was talking about how he's going to put out this special edition, and it's got all those other Tilt-related things and big plans. Don't think any of that has happened. That video is actually several years old, but I think I saw that maybe 5 years ago, so I was kind of amazed that that was even there. But I think that actually is, I don't know, check it out. Maybe it's still there. I don't know. I haven't looked recently. So, but anyway, the movie itself, it's decent. It is a little long, like I said, but it's kind of fun. And it's the kind of movie that if you saw it back in the day, you'd probably really remember it. Very, very nostalgic for you. Not totally nostalgic for me, but I did see it a few times back in the day. I actually have the pre-recorded VHS tape of this. Came in one of those big Continental boxes. Not available on DVD. That's where I burned the tape out of this DVD-R and made some homemade box art, which looks pretty cool if you ask me. But anyway, that is Tilt. So anyway, it's a decent movie if you can track it down. Let me know what you think about it if you've ever seen this thing. I'll leave a link on Amazon down below if you're looking to buy it, although I think it's pretty pricey if it's even there at all. But anyway, check it out. Leave some comments. It's Tilt. Watch it. Bye.